Okay, so what if I told you that you could master a new language, pick up an instrument, or just get really good at any skill you've been struggling with, like 10 times faster? Sounds like a wild claim, right? Well, today we're going to break down exactly how it's possible. You know the feeling, right? You spend hours upon hours reading, watching tutorials, trying to just jam information into your brain, and then poof, the next day it's gone. It's so frustrating, and it feels like a total waste of time. But what if the problem isn't you? What if it's the method? Here's the thing. The real secret is to stop trying to brute force it and to start, well, hacking your brain instead. So in this explainer, we're building a complete toolkit that's going to help you absorb information faster, remember it for way longer, and hey, maybe even enjoy the process. So where do we even begin? The single biggest change you can make is this. You've got to stop being a passive sponge and start being an active participant in your own learning. This all comes down to a really powerful three-step approach. You have to do the thing, you have to be able to teach the thing, and you have to constantly question the thing. Let's kick it off with the most important one. Actually doing it. I mean, let's be real for a second. You can't learn to play basketball by just watching NBA games on TV, and you're not going to become a gourmet chef by binging cooking shows. It just doesn't work that way. Real, true learning only happens when you get your hands dirty. You have to pick up the ball, you got to grab the ingredients, and you just have to start. We have to completely rewire how we think about making mistakes. Seriously, we're taught our whole lives to be afraid of them, but they're actually the secret ingredient for learning. Failing and then correcting that failure, that forges pathways in your brain that are so much stronger than just passively getting something right. Mistakes aren't a bug, they are the feature. They are the path forward. So, has this ever happened to you? You read something, you think, yeah, okay, I get it. But then later, when you try to explain it to someone, your mind just goes completely blank? That's the huge gap between passively understanding something and actively knowing it. And that brings us to our next big technique. This is such a simple but brilliant test. The act of teaching forces you to organize your thoughts, and it immediately shines a big, bright spotlight on all the gaps in your knowledge. And you know the best part? You don't even need a real audience. Explain it to a friend, explain it to your dog, or just explain it to a wall. I know, it might feel a little silly, but trust me, it absolutely works. Remember when you were a little kid and literally everything was, why? But why? How come? As we get older, we kind of stop asking those questions. But that curiosity is a learning superpower. Instead of just trying to memorize a list of facts, start interrogating them. Asking why and how transforms a boring list of data into a connected story that your brain can actually latch onto and remember. Okay, so you're actively engaging with the material. That's huge. Now, let's build a smart system around that engagement to make it incredibly efficient and to make sure that what you learn actually sticks around for good. All right, the first key to an efficient system is something called the Pareto principle, but you probably know it as the 80-20 rule. The idea is that for almost anything, 80% of your results are going to come from just 20% of your effort. Think about learning guitar, right? Instead of trying to master every single chord in existence, you just focus on the 20% of chords that show up in 80% of popular songs. That's not just learning, that's strategic learning. We've all done it. Pulled that all-nighter, cramming for a test, only to have our brain feel like a blank slate the very next day. That's because cramming is one of the absolute worst ways to learn. The scientifically proven, way more effective alternative is something called spaced repetition. So how do we actually make information stick? The secret is to review it at specific, increasing intervals. So instead of cramming something 10 times in one night, you review it the next day, then again a few days later, then a week after that. Each time you do this, you're sending a signal to your brain, basically saying, hey, this is important. And that's what pushes it from your fragile short-term memory into solid long-term storage. And here are 2 more quick system hacks for you. First, study in short, focused bursts. Your brain works way better in these intense 25-minute sprints than it does in some 3-hour slog. And second, Gamify your learning. Turn it into a game. Set challenges. Try to beat your own high score. Give yourself little rewards. This actually triggers a dopamine release, which makes your brain feel good and, motivated to keep on going. Okay, last section. Let's talk about your environment. Your brain doesn't operate in a bubble, right? Your physical health and the people you surround yourself with, they are absolutely critical components of your learning machine. So, you want to learn a new language super fast. The best way is to move to the country where it's spoken. This is the power of learning by osmosis. When you surround yourself with people who are already where you want to be, whether that's in business or music or fitness, you just naturally start to absorb their mindset, their vocabulary, and their way of thinking. But your environment isn't just about what's outside of you. The two most underrated learning tools are without a doubt sleep and exercise. You see, sleep isn't downtime. It's when your brain does all its important filing. It's called memory consolidation, where it organizes and stores the day's info. Without good sleep, you're basically hitting learn all day without ever hitting save. And exercise? It's like a reset button for your brain. It boosts blood flow and all these focus-enhancing chemicals like dopamine. Now you might be thinking, how much do I need? Well, the magic number might be simpler than you think. Just 10 minutes. A simple 10-minute walk can sharpen your focus and spark your creativity. It's an instant upgrade for your brain. So, at the end of the day, learning 10 times faster isn't about some magic pill. It's about having the right strategies and building the right system. And now, you have that complete toolkit to make learning smarter, faster, and way more effective. So let's just recap the 3 core keys. First, you have to actively engage with the material. You got to do it, teach it, and question it. Second, build a reliable system for yourself using tools like the 80-20 rule and spaced repetition. And finally, optimize your environment. Get around the right people, get your sleep, and get moving. Ultimately, learning is a skill, and just like any other skill, you can get better at it. You have the methods now. The toolkit is yours. So the only question left is, what are you going to master first?